Hello and welcome to another edition of the SportsHeads on Verge Magazine. I'm here joined by my band of merry men, as I normally say every single week. Sam Morgan and Dan Fullery, how are you?
We're good.
We're good, mate. We're good. How are you?
Worse for wear from yesterday because, obviously title winners, championes, but I won't go into that because it's an American sports show. So I will give you the break that you need, but I will continue all summer privately in our private messaging. Guys, there's been a lot to catch up on. Obviously, we're going to be covering all American sports over the next half an hour. Lots and lots and lots to catch up on. Lots of new stuff that's happened. So let's get going. Dak Prescott couldn't get his contract agreed with the Dallas Cowboys. First it was on, then there's a long-term contract that was going to be, not presented. And then, there's a last-minute offer from his team to theirs and vice versa. And then basically the Cowboys and Dak Prescott couldn't actually get this long-term agreement sorted. So therefore, he is on the franchise. Do you guys think that's a mistake? I'll start with Sam. What do you think?
I think it's a mistake for the organisation. It's starting to look really disorganised. For an organisation of that size, they should be having their house in order a little bit, and then creating a bit of uncertainty on top of what's already going on in the league as well. It doesn't look good and probably doesn't bode well for a lot of the fans who obviously try and want to get that successful organisation again. Although they're going to be waiting for a long time. They're almost a bit like a Liverpool of the NFL, I suppose, like living into old days. But it'd be good for them to obviously get a chance to obviously organise this. So I think it is a mistake. I think the Mahomes contract probably threw a spanner in the works because his team were probably looking at that going, oh, hold on a second. I don't know where they value him the same as Mahomes, but obviously go get your money. So I think it's a mistake from their side. But at the same time, I think that Prescott's team need to tread carefully because if he does go onto the open market, I don't think he holds the same value in his head that the rest of the league see him as. So I think they need to get this wrapped up ASAP.
Dan, what do you think?
See, Jerry Jones has a record or a history of paying people, maybe sometimes even overpaying his stars. So for me, if he didn't want to pay Dak the money that Dak's asking for, I think Jerry Jones is right in his decision because I don't think Dak thinks he's better than what he really is. And I think that's the issue. And like what Sam said, if he went to the open market, I don't think Dak would command that much. I mean, when Dak didn't have Zeke in that 6-game stretch that Zeke was banned, he wasn't great. His numbers weren't great. And, people talk about, his efficiency, this and that, and his rating and, one of the best, since Tom Brady, win percentages he started since Tom Brady. But he went 8-8 last season. Like, I don't care, you're basing it based on that first season in which he won, 13 games or something like that. So for me, Dak isn't as good as he thinks he is. That's not me slating Dak. I think he's a nice kid and, I think he's got great talent and potential. But also I do understand, at the end of the day, you also the Dallas Cowboys. Like, the Cowboys are the biggest team in the US. You are making endorsement deals off the wazoo, outside of the game by just being a Dallas Cowboys quarterback. And if you ask anyone, ask Roger Staubach, ask Troy Aikman, Dallas Cowboys who win, quarterbacks who win they're settled for life. So if I was him, I wouldn't really be haggling over 5-10 million because, the long-term incentives of what you get as a Dallas Cowboys quarterback is just, you can't measure it. You can't place it. Look at Emmitt Smith, for example, as well. So for me, I'll stick to it, to be fair. If I was Dak, I think he made a mistake.
Do you think don't you guys think that because he's actually pretty much had to prove himself for the last 2 seasons, each season there's been a new long-term with a long, fat guarantee, contract dangled in front of him. Don't you feel that this is a matter of principle for him, and it's wrong for the Dallas Cowboys to be able to hand out contracts to everyone else, but not their, main face of the franchise, which is the quarterback?
Well, I think it's when you base it on the facts is you've got one of the best offensive lines in the league when he first started. Obviously now there's been a bit of injury there. You had Zeke, who was basically at the time the best running back in the league. So you're looking at it from a point of view, it's like, okay, so Dak, what are you bringing to the table? Because it wasn't like you steadied the ship. But could I have done that with an Andy Dalton, with that same line, with that same running game? Probably. Could I have done that with any other quarterback? So the question is, I think when you are getting that sort of Russell Wilson, Mahomes type money, you have to elevate the team. Mahomes is the reason the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, not in spite of it. Russell Wilson is now the reason why Seattle are winning games. Not when it was before, it was the Legion of Boom, but now it is him. You know, Deshaun Watson is another person. They're winning games because of him, not and he's a factor. Can I really say that the Cowboys are winning games because of Dak? No.
That's it. At the end of the day, if they rated him that highly, the contract had been done. If there's any uncertainty, it gets delayed, and negotiations will continue. And that's ultimately, I think that's what it comes down to. And that's not just Dak. That's any player. When it comes down, if you're not getting it what you want ASAP, or at least close to what you want in the early stages, they probably don't rate you as highly as you think you rate yourself. And I think Dan's touched on that. And I think that's ultimately what it comes down to. And, you know, they're seeing, obviously, rookie QBs coming off the draft, probably actually producing the same numbers as him, if not more. So why would you give someone like that the big numbers when he, like you say, he's not winning you the games that you need?
Yeah, it's a shame for Dak, because obviously you see it's a division rival for the New York Giants, but it's quite disappointing that, you know, someone like him who has actually proven himself, and carried himself in a really, really, with a high standard, bar like one little incident, compared to someone like Zeke, who's, you know, always in trouble. It's a shame that he can't actually get his contract with some, you know, hefty guarantees. But, you know, in the end of the day, he's getting his money. Don't worry. He's far from broke. And Sam, can you address Liverpool as the champions of the Premier League and the world champions? Moving on. Antonio Brown, the circus show continues. So 1 minute he's retiring, next minute he's not. You know, he's been training with pretty much, I think about between 6 and 8 different quarterbacks. So getting everyone's tongues wagging and seeing. I know that Dan was quite excited to put him to possibly be part of his team. No matter what he says, he's been talking about it off screen. So, guys, now that he's unretired, what do you think the future is for Antonio Brown? I'll start with Dan.
I feel for AB. I feel for AB because I think him and going outside of sports now, Kanye, I think those two characters, they've got help. They need help. I think they're screaming for help. And I think AB hasn't put himself in the best situation. I think he hasn't surrounded himself with the right people. He surrounded himself with sort of yes men. And AB's situation is sort of a warning sign and plight to NFL players. Don't tie your identity to football. You've got to find your identity outside of football. And I think AB's tied who he is to catching footballs. And so he sees himself as only that. And I think that's a problem in itself. So also young people listening and hearing this, don't tie yourself to that, to your game. You should be out, someone different to what your game is. But with AB, I think the league needs to come out and just actually state what the punishment is so that he can actually find out and move on. Because right now, even if he signs to a team, we don't know if he's going to be suspended for a year, a game, 2, 3. We don't actually know. And I think the league's doing a disservice to him as an individual. They need to come out and say, look, AB, if you do join a team, you're suspended for a year for all the accusations, for everything that's going on, for what your antics were. Okay, then I can move on and focus. But we don't know. And I think leaving someone in limbo like that doesn't help, because you see he's going back and forth. I want to retire. I don't want to retire. I'm going to join this team. I'm talking about this team. I want to join Tampa Bay with Tom Brady. And it's like, okay, mate, if you know what you're getting into and you have some clarity, then teams are getting, like, AB's still phenomenal talent. Don't get me wrong. And he's, he's proven that, and I think at his age he can definitely do that to a team, maybe like the Seahawks, who are struggling for wide receivers. But I think AB needs to focus on getting help himself. Some of the things he did, if he wasn't a football player, he probably would be locked up. So I think he needs to first focus on him, heal himself, take himself away from football, and then if you're at a better stage in life, then come back.
Sam, get in there.
I think that's the you've hit the nail on the head, though, is the league. The league need to fix this. And this isn't just an AB thing. This is for all players that are left in limbo for ages. Like, you want the best talent playing in your in your game as well. So I don't understand why the NFL are taking so long to just say this is your punishment. It took ages. I mean, the thing is, you've got like Myles Garrett, though. Myles Garrett's getting loads of money still, and obviously, but it's just there's people are going to have little issues. You get hit on the head enough times, there's going to be some issues down the line, and AB's been hit a few times. So, but ultimately, he does need to settle down. And this, I think, the other point you made, Daniel, that the help actually having someone next to him, actually directing him in the right direction to make that call to the NFL, so that they can actually sit down and thrash out what is actually going to happen. I'd like to see him back in, but it is becoming a little bit boring. I think last week we were like, or the week before, he's like, oh, he's retired. Now he's back. And I know that we'll probably talk again in 2 weeks' time, and he's retired again. So it is getting a little bit boring to a point where guys probably are just going to, his numbers actually start to drop, and it'd be a disservice to him that when he comes to negotiate, it is no good. Seahawks, in terms of where he actually lands, I think Seahawks is where he needs to go and be the main man. Because I think although he'll go to, if he was to go to someone like the Bucks, AB will start acting up again because he actually won't be the main man. Because you'll still have the personalities of Gronk. Evans will want that. Goodwin will want it. I don't think that's the right place for him. So anywhere he does go, he needs to be babied and be the main man. That's because if he doesn't, we'll be talking about this again, and he'll be at a new team.
Do you guys feel that there's a bit of mixed messaging and mixed signals from Tom Brady, where he's obviously been in contact with him a lot? Apparently, they've been speaking a lot. So I do feel, there has been interest, and Tom Brady is definitely looks like he's trying to sell him as a person. That he has, he doesn't cause any problems in the locker room. Productivity on the field is always, without a doubt, without question, always high. But do you guys feel, that there's some type of mixed messages coming from, obviously Tom Brady and the Buccaneers?
I think they're just trying to ride the hype. To be honest, I think they just keep themselves in the limelight. I think that's the important thing. Bucks need that. I think it's like an image thing now. It's like let's create this hype because they need it. We were the Bucks before. Let's be honest. Like it's just they're just a team. No disrespect to Bucks fans, obviously that might watch this, but before you're just a team. I know that. It was a Cardinals fan. Now we've got a bit of hype. It's like it's great. Ride the wave. Use what you can, but I think they're just talking, to be honest.
See, I'm going to completely disagree with you, Sam, because I think the hype's already there. You got Tom Brady, the GOAT. You got Rob Gronkowski, who's arguably the GOAT for tight ends. And, there's excitement for the team. So I don't think they need the AB conversation to be any more hype. I think it's just genuinely Tom Brady as an individual trying to help someone who he sees in need because, I think initially he was maybe flirting with the idea, but then Bruce Arians says, Coach AB, they don't get along famously. So, Tom Brady's, I think he's just trying to reach out to him to get him back into the league and get him into a situation that could be helpful for him. So I think it's just being Tom Brady because, the Bucs, look, they haven't been relevant in the NFL for a while. And I'm not saying that as a hater because they're the Glazers and the Glazers are United. I'm just saying, realistically speaking, they haven't been as relevant as maybe they should have been, maybe their talents deserve to be. So, you've got a superstar head coach in Bruce Arians, you've got Tom Brady, you've got the weapons. I don't think they need AB as a hype. I don't even think they need AB in general, to be fair.
Well, we'll see what happens with AB when he signs with the Seahawks, and we'll see the jersey that Dan decides to wear. And all Buccaneers fans, if you want to address at UK Samo, you can actually give him your opinions of what he's saying when he's trash talking your team. Don't let that happen. Let him know what you think. Let's go into Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard. Oh, God. Where do I start again? This guy. Obviously, the NBA are starting next week. Obviously, they've been really been doing a stellar job about keeping people safe, keeping people in the bubble where there's no spread of the virus and no new players contracting it. Dwight Howard, well, obviously, they've got a... what we could call is a snitch line for players to be able to snitch on each other if anyone's not wearing a mask or breaking any of the rules. Dwight Howard has been reported twice for not wearing a mask, and he's actually going on his own social media saying that he doesn't believe in vaccines as well. Do you guys think that if he gets one more strike, that he should be out? Like, is this helpful overall for the new NBA season? Because obviously, people are looking forward to it coming back, and he's, I feel, putting it at risk. What do you guys think? Dan, let's start with you.
Well, I think he's been a bit selfish, because I think you need to remember one thing. This is a league in corporate of other people. So it's not just you. You might not believe in vaccinations, but the rest of the league, the rest of the country, the rest of the entire world does. So while you might not believe it, that's great. And might not take it seriously, but you are jeopardizing other people now. And I think that's where I would criticize him for being. His actions are selfish. He might not be a selfish individual, but his actions are being selfish, because I get it. Look, the bubble's not an easy situation. To be away from your family, to be away from everything you know and love, it's not easy. But you're just giving up maybe 2-3 months of that to make sure that this goes off. If the NFL and if the NBA season doesn't go off, you need to remember the salary cap, money, financially, it's going to impact not just everyone around you, but it's also going to impact him. Because if he now wants to get a new deal, if he now wants to get paid more, what are you going to do? You're and I think this is what athletes don't realize, is your money is tied to the advertisement and games being played. No games mean no money. So while you might be hissing and piffing and, up in arms about the situation, do you want to get paid? Yes or no? If it's a no, then fine. Take yourself out of the bubble. Don't play like some people are doing, opt out, and just stay at home. That's cool. But if you are going to do it, be committed, because you are, and you can't turn around and be like, I'm going to represent and help my brothers on the pitch, but not do it off the pitch as well. Do it completely and help people. And you might think it's a hoax, but the rest of the world doesn't. So at the end of the day, this isn't something political. This isn't a left versus right situation. This is just out of common courtesy. I'm going to do this for everyone else and just get along with it. So I just don't get why him and others as well have that mentality. It's like, well, fuck everyone else. I'm just going to, excuse my French, but I'm just going to focus on me and me alone. When you live in a world of 8 billion people, nothing you do by yourself. Yeah.
And Sam, do you feel that he's on his last strike?
Yes, he is. But I don't want to put all the blame on him. I'm going to put the blame on the fact that that's just how the country is at the moment, as a whole. The message in the States is not strong enough.
Yeah.
You go across all the different states and everyone has a different message. It's not clear. It's all blurred lines. Hence why there's people kicking off about wearing a mask or whether it's a hoax. But that just is the whole country as a self, because there's no clear message coming from the top that filters down. So really, if he's looking at it going, well, there's a huge majority that, so as he says, it is a hoax. This isn't a small majority or a small, like, minor amount of people. So these people are coming in and out and doing little, I don't know, the sneaky bits. And in other sports, he's not on his own. In other sports, some people have obviously broken lockdown rules and gone done other things. But what I do agree with is, yes, they should have a strike system.
Yeah.
3 strikes, that's it. You are out. Get him out the bubble. You let your team down, and then that organisation can deal with whoever the player is. So, yes, he is in the wrong, because that's what the rules, they've put those rules in place. But you also have to respect the fact that actually the messages are so blurred that people are going to make, ride their own wave on or interpretation of what those rules might be. But the NBA, they've tried everything they can to obviously get this to work, obviously by putting it in a bubble. So I hope that the players would respect it. And Daniel was right. If you don't want to do it, opt out. Go and sit in your house, or if you want to go and try and play with fire and potentially catch this virus, then go and do that. But do it on your own terms, not putting other players at risk.
Yeah. Again, it's the attention seeking of the minority. It always, jeopardizes it for the few, because there's many players there that are abiding by the rules, making sure that they, keep safe and keep everyone else safe. It's with people like him who always have to be in the spotlight in some form of way. Be it if they're pretending to take pictures of LeBron as he's doing his normal pre-game ritual, or he's doing some other nonsense. I think personally it should just be last strike. We've got to send a message to you and everyone else who wants to do the same thing, so this doesn't ruin the season, because it's looking really good from what they've been doing. So, guys, obviously, as you guys know, every week that we talk about, like, you know, all the different stories that have actually caught our minds or our eyes or pulls on our heartstrings. Guys, I'll start with Sam. What have you seen this week? What's the stories that stick out to you this week?
Actually, one thing I wanted to cover is the officials in the NFL.
Okay.
Usually would actually turn up to camps and actually go through new rules, obviously talk to people on that sense so everyone is ready for pre-season and the actual first game. They're not doing that this year. They're, because of all of it, obviously with COVID, etc. They're not actually going to set foot on a field until week 1. So all these players are actually may actually not know the rules properly stated by the officials. So I think there's going to be a few ups and downs, I think, come week 1, maybe even through to the first sort of 2 or 3 games, because they've not actually had that chance to go through that. So it's just another curveball in the NFL season yet again. I think this is going to be the most disjointed season, just because this is another thing just to add to it. So fans, read up on the rules, because there's some new ones. So don't kick off if the officials obviously go against you, and don't blame the players, because they are probably have not been told exactly what it is officially until week 1. So I'm not liking that one. How can you not do a Zoom call?
Dan, what you got?
Just quickly on Sam, that's why I said at least do one pre-season game, just so you can get the nicks and crannies out, just so you can practice, because you need that. But yeah, hey-ho, we talked about that last week. I think for me personally, there's 2 things to focus on. I think, people have seen now the Madden rating and sort of the ratings out, the 99 ratings, Patrick Mahomes, Michael Thomas, or sort of 99 ratings to Christian McCaffrey. I think it's sort of debatable, some of the ratings. I think Deshaun should be higher. I'm surprised Aaron Rodgers is where he is right now. So I think some of the ratings, are kind of stuff, and it begs to the question is who is actually scouting these players to then, show these individuals like, look, you are 90, you're 80. I mean, Gronk's a 95 and he's been out of football for a year, and the year before that, he wasn't like he was, lighting the game on fire. So, I think sometimes his name, I think sometimes his status. Again, it's like the voting for sort of teams as well. So I think it's one of those situations. And I think the second thing as well, which is kind of big, is sort of a guy by the name of Tom Curran at the Boston Globe, I believe, or just in Boston, reporter, mentioned that Jerry Rice was the true GOAT of the NFL over Tom Brady. It's hard because I think each position is different. And each position is very hard to say there's a one universal GOAT, unlike you can do NBA with Michael Jordan being the GOAT. But I think for me, if you are going to do a GOAT, I think you need to look at a player who's transformed the game. And for me, I think there's no player that's transformed the game as much than Lawrence Taylor for New York Giants in the last 30 years of the NFL. I mean, if you could not block Lawrence Taylor, you could not win the game. Lawrence Taylor was just that devastating. And people forget, he's one of the few defensive players to win league MVP. Not just defensive MVP, league MVP. Most of the time it's always an offensive player. So that just shows you how dominant he was. Sacks, dominant. For me, he's the best defensive player I've ever seen play the game. Probably the best defensive player of all time. And so for me, if I'm going to put a GOAT, I'll probably put LT. Or you can make a case for other players, but I think I will make a strong case for LT. And you can argue that he changed the left tackle position. We've seen the film Blindside. That's all stemmed from LT. So you wouldn't have a Michael Orr if you didn't have an LT. So we wouldn't have a Sandra Bullock looking as great as she is in that film. So I've got to thank LT for that. So it truly is the GOAT for me.
And EA, fix my boy K1's rating 77.
I think he's right exactly where he is right now. I completely agree with it.
No, that's like the average. That's the average for the Giants is 77.
I can't. You know what? Like literally at this point, I can't say anything just yet. But we'll see when the season starts, and we'll see who's talking then.
Mate, there's no talking. Your team sucks. Your team sucks.
Yeah, we do.
I'm
We do
sorry.
at the
I'm
moment.
I'm sorry, Giants fans.
Giants trying to opt out this season.
I'll take one. Right. So what I was going to speak about is quite exciting little snippets that we've seen of the new NBA season. How they plan to be able to get around the fact that obviously there's no fans there. Lots of plasma screens all around the place. I've seen little snippets of the Heat game, and also the Clippers, and it's been really exciting. They've managed to be able to, kind of replace the fans in obviously nothing can really replace the fans, but they've done a great job with these new screens. So I'm hoping that baseball and obviously NFL can kind of follow suit and actually just think outside of the box and copy the NBA's formula of making sure that they bring lots of light and excitement. Like, it's really good. So guys, if you have a look on NBA and obviously Miami Heat and and all other little snippets you can actually see on Instagram, and you'll get as excited as we are. So next week we have a NBA special, because obviously the season's starting, so we're gonna have some special guests, and obviously we'll have Chris from Miami back as well. So he's been getting himself ready for this NBA season, and then we'll start possibly thinking about doing some type of points, so we can actually see, with match predictions, who's right and who's wrong, and at the end of the season we'll tally up and see who is the man when it comes to all sports knowledge. Guys, appreciate your time, and we will be back next week, and I'm going to now just start looking at the matchups and try to start seeing who's going to win and who's not. Because NBA season has it's been so long, I've forgotten who some of the players are. Guys, we'll catch you next week. Check us out on Verge Magazine and Alternative Sports. Until then, we're out. Peace. Brilliant.
Did you just pout? You just pouted.